on this computer. Okay, so what I want to talk to you about is called aliases, right? And an alias in Linux is exactly what an alias in the real world is. It's one name that actually is a synonym for something else, right? It's just so it's a shorthand for a more complicated command, pretty much. You create aliases whenever you want to pretty much remember a command, but the command is just too complicated. It has too many pipes, and you're like, oh man, nobody's gonna remember this. Let me make my life simpler. Let me create an alias, right? And that's what these commands are used for. Now, here, now, how do you make them? For that, we use the alias command. So alias, the name of the alias, and then the command. That's it. That's it. The formula is as simple as you're looking over there. The keyword alias, the name of the alias, equal sign, and in quotations, the alias that you want to create. You are already using aliases and you didn't know. As a matter of fact, when you do this, ls, this is an alias. This is an alias of ls hyphen hyphen color, because by default, ls doesn't use color. But the bash rc creates an alias to the particular command so that to make your life easier. Now, how do you make your own? Like, I got it. You gave me all of this cereal. Give me some milk. I would like to make my own. I'm excited. For instance, let me give you an example. Wouldn't it be great to just type update in your system and then have sudo apt update, sudo apt upgrade, full upgrade, and this upgrade run in one single command?
Yeah.
Like, that's how I do it. When I type update, all of those commands run. This is what I did. At the beginning of the semester, I told you that if you want to run a single command, if you want to run multiple commands in a single line, all you have to do is end the command with a semicolon and then put the other command, and it will automatically run one and then run the other, right? The only problem is that, this is the only problem, if you have a typo in this command, it will run the other one, although you have a typo here. So maybe you want to do something like this. Alias update equals to sudo apt update, and this is only going to run the first command if the second command is successful. Sudo apt upgrade. And let's assume that you are a risk taker like me and you want to automatically say yes. So if this command is successful, this other command is run. So when you type the word update in your computer, this entire thing is run. That makes remembering much faster, right? Much, much faster. But that's only one example. Let's take a look at another example. What happens, for instance, when you're working with Git? Like, don't you hate to type git add period and then git commit minus m and then
Yeah,
the
honestly.
comment? Wouldn't you like to make that easier? Look at the example. In my computer, all I do is I type the word add, and then git add period is run. Push, and then git push is run. Merge, and then git merge is run. Pull, and then git pull is run. Commit replaces git commit minus m. And then the only thing is I had to do is type the remaining of the other commands. But here's the thing. You know how to make it, but where do you save it? Now, this over here that I have in the bottom is bad practice, right? This command in the bottom is bad practice. But sometimes I'm in a hurry. And I was working on Git for quite a while, and I have run quite many lines of codes without doing a push, which is not recommended. So people in the comment section, don't kill me. I recommend doing as many commits as needed, not working like me, like a maniac. But, sometimes I'm in a hurry and I need to make a quick push. And I don't want to type all of the commands one after each other. I just want to make a quick push because I'm in a hurry. I need to go. When I come back, I'll fix it. And for that, I do what is called a Q push. I created an alias called Q push that does exactly that. It runs git add, then git commit, then git push. And it's labeled quick push. And I know that if I see a quick push in my particular computer, in my particular Git branch, I say, okay, you know what? That commit was made, because I was in a hurry. So I know that I need to go there and take a look at the changes and make sure that I, comment out something to remember what I did specifically. Again, this is bad practice. You shouldn't do this, But sending a quick commit is better than not committing at all. Because having something saved with a random name is better than not saving at all. Am I right? Now, the question here is, where do you save this file? And can I use any word to create aliases? Well, first, let's address the point of which words can you use for creating aliases and which words shouldn't you use. Now, this is how it works. Before you create an alias, you should check if that particular word has been taken already. Because if you create an alias for a command that exists, that command is going to get overridden. So if you create a command by mistake, if you create an alias, for example, if I do this, alias mkdir equals to IP address, guess what's going to happen? Mkdir will no longer create directories. It's now going to be an alias to IP address. And every time I want to create a directory, it's just going to run the IP address command. So how do you avoid this problem? Well, simple. Try it out. For instance, random xyz. Notice that it tells you, hey, command not found, because that particular word is not taken. It doesn't exist. There is another thing you can do. There is a command called type, which tells you, guess what the command type does. Take a guess on what type does.
Tells you the time.
Let's say type mkdir. What is that? mkdir is, and then an absolute path. What is that? It's the absolute path where the command is.
Yeah.
So if type returns, for instance, something like this, type random xyz, hey, I didn't find that. Type random xyz, not found. So you know that is a particular word that you can use for an alias. You should always check if a particular command exists with that particular alias before you create an alias. It's very important. You can break your system like that, right? Now, maybe you created an alias and you don't want it anymore. How do you get rid of it? Simple. On alias and bye-bye. On alias and then the particular command. For instance, there was an API for getting quotes from animes that I showed you at the beginning of the semester. Who remembers that? Somebody does. That API is no longer working. So I had an alias that I used for that called quote anime. When I realized the alias wasn't working, I got rid of it. Simple. On alias, quote anime. And yes, I watch anime. Who doesn't?
Exactly.
So now the question again here is, where do you put your bash aliases? Because here is the problem. If you create an alias on the shell and you just type alias equal over here, the moment you log out, it's gone. The alias is gone. It's only safe on that session. And the moment the session is discarded, the alias is gone. So you need to find a way to make your alias persistent. And guess what you do? Simple. You save them in a file. If you're using an Ubuntu system, you already have a file dedicated only for creating aliases. And that file is called bash aliases. So ls bash underscore aliases. If you type that in your system, you should get something like what I did, because that file in your computer is going to be empty. In my computer, it's not. For instance, I have a bunch of aliases here. Let's open it in Vim. For instance, I like to divide them by session, so I put them in a common. If I want to install a snap, I don't use sudo snap install. I use syntao. If I want to install a Python package, I use pintal. If I want to search, I use search. And I put all of this in my bash aliases so that I can have them there. But this is not the only thing. If I want to have these aliases on a different Ubuntu computer, all I have to do is grab this file that I have saved in GitHub. And my aliases are back there where I am. For other distributions like Arch Linux, Gentoo, and Fedora, I have a different alias file because some of these commands only work in Ubuntu. I want to show you something. You remember when I told you what happens if you have a crazy grep command and you want to save, but you don't want to remember? IP only. I want to show you something. I like this one a lot. Man ls options. Cool, right? Again, man ls option, and when I pipe option, this alias is gonna call this. I no longer need to remember all the crazy mumbo jumbo. Do I? No, the shell remembers it for me. Whenever I want, for example, to see all the virtual machines that I have installed on my computers, there is a virtual machine command you can do. VBox manage allows you to do that. So if you go all the way down here, what are you? VirtualBox aliases. Notice that I have 114 LSVMs, and you guys have seen me using it before in other classes. Oh. These are all the virtual machines that I have installed in my system. And in this computer specifically, when I want to start the virtual machine, it's simple. Start VM, and then the particular virtual machine. I can either use the ID or I can just use the name of the machine. And that is easier. Oh, sorry, I probably have the thing. Nope. Did I make a mistake? I did not. Let me use the hash. I wonder if I have that virtual machine saved somewhere else. I hope I don't. I probably do. Now, for instance, whenever I start this VM, you don't see me opening VirtualBox. I just type the command start VM and then provide the name of the virtual machine, because all I'm doing is starting the virtual machine, and it is faster for me to do it on the command line because I'm already working on the command line than me doing it, opening VirtualBox and then going to the VM and then starting the VM, right? Isn't that more efficient? Obviously, if you're using Windows, by the way, I don't know if Windows provide aliases functions or not. I am not, I apologize, but I'm not very well in the Windows command line, right? I am a code monkey for the Windows command line. Now, let me see. I like this one for creating random facts. Random trivia. For instance, if I want to get a random trivia from the internet, it's a little stupid, but it's something a little bit stupid. But I created them a while ago for a particular project I was working on. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna save these APIs here because they happen to be useful. So I'm gonna save them there. And yeah, that's about it. That's how you create aliases, and you have example of aliases over there that you can work on. Any questions about how to use aliases? Okay. I'm gonna stop recording now. If you guys have any question about the lab or anything, let me know. And yeah, that's about it.
Thank you, Professor.
Professor